Well, hello friends, welcome to the Learn Portrait Drawing channel. My name is Jeff, and in this video we are going to watch how I drew this beautiful girl right here. This particular video is a little bit different than my past ones. In this video I'm going to narrate over the drawing. So I can speed it up a little bit, but I can still narrate and walk you through my entire thought process. If you haven't already, I really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Be sure you turn on the bell notification and give this video a thumbs up if you like this kind of format. It lets me know that I can keep doing it and keep putting out these videos and that it's not just a big waste of time. One of the things that I do in this video that I haven't done on my past portraits, I use the Reilly method of drawing and laying out the face. It's something I really like doing. I think it really helps with proportions, and it's something I might try and do with some of my future portraits as well. So with that being said, let's watch how I drew this beautiful woman right here. Okay everybody, here we go. So I'm going to narrate over this while you see the video. It's just a little bit easier that way. That way when I'm drawing the video, when I'm drawing the picture, I'm focused more on the drawing and not on narrating while I'm drawing. I hope that makes sense. It's a whole other dynamic to try and talk while I'm drawing. But anyway, what I start out doing here is I'm drawing an envelope, or the outer shape of the person. So I'm just thinking about the outside of the head. And in this video I'm going to do something that's different than my last videos. I'm going to use the Reilly method, or parts of the Reilly method, to try and get the facial structure. So what you see is I kind of drew a horizontal line and then a vertical line. The horizontal line is going to be where the brows, where I'm saying the eyebrows are going to go. Then the middle line is the nose, and then below that is going to be the chin. It's in equal parts. So what I'm doing is I'm measuring out right here the nose to the mouth to the nose to the hairline. And you can see those are three equal parts. And what that does is it's helping me to lock in where the facial structure is going to be. Now what I'm thinking about is drawing the eye sockets and the brow ridge. And again, this is all part of the Reilly rhythm. I'll probably do a video about that, a separate video on my channel in one of these days, more of a tutorial. But you'll see what's neat about the Reilly method of drawing is it really helps your brain figure out where everything goes. So you're going to see me draw these circles and these rhythms of the face and a bunch of lines that you're not going to see on the portrait. You're not going to see on the reference picture, but you're going to see me draw it on the paper. And that's just my way of letting my brain visualize where the features are. So see, I'm locking in where the nose is going to be. And I'm just putting a spot there, saying this is where the nose is going to be. This is where the inner corners of the eyes are going to be. And those line up to the outside of the nose. So what you're seeing me do is take these sort of measurements, these visual measurements, and putting marks on the page just so I can see where the features are. Now this is the ball of the nose right here. And so I'm drawing a circle just to visualize the three-dimensionality of it. It'll start to look more 3D to me by making these lines. It's almost like a wireframe. If you ever see like a wireframe model, it's kind of like that. It's like I'm drawing little wires all over the picture so my brain can see the form. It's a neat way of drawing. So right here I'm starting to lock in where the mouth is going to be. Again, there's the chin right there. And I'm trying to circle so I can visualize where the chin is going to kind of protrude out. And I'm fixing the width of the head here. So the width on one side, the width on the other side. See how we're kind of framing the face? And so this is sort of the muzzle area of the mouth. This from the nose to the chin, right there, that circle. Now that lets us know the mouth is going to fit right inside there. And this rhythm right here is for the cheekbones that go up. Now I'm getting an angle for where the corners of the mouth are going to be, and putting little dots just so I know exactly where they are. And you can see there I'm putting these little anchor marks where the eyes are, where the mouth is going to go, where the corners of the nostrils are. All these things are going to help me to lay out the proportions. And at this stage, this whole drawing, this part right here, I'm using soft charcoal, so it's easily erasable. And I'm just using this piece of soft charcoal to just sort of map out where the features are. I'm not trying to get anything necessarily accurate at this point. I'm just taking these visual measurements. I'm going, okay, here's where the eyebrow is going to go, right about in this area. And then on the other side, we're going to match it and go, okay, the eyebrow goes over here. And see, it's not exactly perfect right now. They're not in the same shape of the eyebrows. They're not even the same level of the eyebrows, but it's okay. It's just giving us a visual idea, a visual map of how we want the drawing to be. So all those lines you see and the circles and everything, that's all part of the Reilly rhythm. And it's really, really helpful for me. I like I said, I think my next portrait, and who knows how many after, I think I'm going to try and do the Reilly rhythm for a lot of them, because it is so helpful to lock in the proportions and to lock in the features. You know, a lot of times when you're drawing, especially as beginners, you go, where am I going to put the eye? Where am I going to put the nose? How do I know the nose is in the right spot? Doing stuff like this with all these lines that you see really help you to visualize where the features go. Now right here I'm just making big circles. It kind of looks like she has goggles on, or John Lennon glasses. But that's just sort of for my brain to reference where the eyeball itself is going to be. And then I can just draw the lid over that. So you'll see up here, I'm going to draw the eyelid over those circles. And it helps my brain to visualize that the eyeball is actually a three-dimensional object. It's like a ball. So the lid is going to wrap around the ball. Now here I'm kind of just trying to map out a little bit more of the drawing as far as the shadow of the neck, that cast shadow that you see, just so I can get an idea of where it's going to fall on the paper. Look how creepy that face looks right now. But even as creepy as it looks, you could still kind of see that it matches the reference picture. You can still see that the proportions are pretty close to it. It's not exact, but we're pretty close. And sometimes when you're drawing freehand like I do, that's kind of what it's all about. Just getting as close as you can. So here I am just kind of putting in the value for the hair. Very messy, very loose. I made this part too long, too wide, so you could see I'm kind of erasing where I thought the hair was going to be and adjusting it closer to the head. And at this stage, I'm kind of looking where's my dark spots going to be, checking my angles, making sure that corner of the eye, comparing that to the nose right there. That's always a good measurement point. And I do that on every drawing. I look at where the inner eye corners start and where the outer eye corner starts. And I measure that angle to the nose. Kind of locks it in. So we're smoothing out the drawing right here. Because I was using soft charcoal, just using my finger kind of blends it in. And it gives it like a mid-tone for skin. And see, now what we're left with is we're left with sort of a map that we can now start to use our regular charcoal pencil to start drawing in the features like the eyes. So here I am making sure the eyes are about one eye width apart. And I'm going to start by trying to just draw the lid over the eye. And speaking of the Reilly rhythm, I didn't do all of the Reilly rhythms. There's a lot of other lines and reference points that I could have done that I didn't do. Maybe I'll do that in my next video, try and draw most or all of the Reilly rhythms. Now you can see I'm doing the eyelid here. Notice I'm kind of working from bigger to smaller. So I did the outer lid first, and now I'm kind of doing the eyelash lid, if that's what you want to call it. Checking my angles again. That way I know where the eye comes to, where it stops at. And this is always my favorite part of the drawing, because this is where it starts to take shape. You're starting to give it some form, give it some life. And once you draw the eyes, usually it's kind of a neat thing, because then the drawing starts looking back at you. It's kind of a very cool feeling. That's one of the things I love about drawing, is that you're creating something. You're creating something out of nothing. It's almost like you're creating a life form. And you're going to give it personality and give it character. Let me know your thoughts on drawing. Why do you guys like to do it? I'd love to have a discussion. Leave me a comment below. So we're working on the shading a little bit. Because we did those Reilly rhythms, we can kind of see, where the structure of the eye is now. We know where right here underneath the brow, it's going to be lighter. And right around the eye, it's darker. So I can add those shadows in there, even though I don't see a lot of shadow on the picture because of the light. But when you do these Reilly rhythms and draw out the structure like a wireframe, you can kind of know, okay, right here is where I'm shading, because it's darker. Here we're working on the other eye. I'm trying to make sure I keep them about the same level. I don't want them to be one higher than the other or two higher than the other. Again, my style's all freehand, so that's one of the challenging things that I like about it. I don't use rulers or protractors or proportional dividers. Just keep it all freehand, challenge yourself, have fun with it, see how close you can get to making it look like the reference picture. If I wanted something to look exactly photorealistic, I can do, I would do like a grid, or I would trace it, or I would, but that's not my style. That's just not my style. A lot of the times people that do grids takes 100 hours to do a picture. This picture took me 3 hours. It took me 3 hours and 11 minutes to draw this. And I'm speeding it up here, so it's going to take you about a little over an hour to watch this. But, yeah, you could still draw really good pictures using this technique. And, of course, with practice. And you can do that in 3 hours and draw something really nice. So here we are working on the nose. We're just kind of keeping the ball of the nose in the back of our mind. The noses are really fun to draw because it gives the picture a three-dimensionality to the picture. And you can make the nose really kind of jump off the page. And I like this reference picture because of the little, if you notice there's a cast shadow underneath the nose that's really dark. I'm kind of drawing it right here. But that'll make it really stand out when we darken it. Again, if anybody has any questions or anything, I read all of my comments. I answer all of my questions. I want to thank you for watching this video. Everybody that's subscribed to me so far, I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And if you have any suggestions or anything like that, I'd love to hear them. So right here, I'm still mapping out sort of angles, and right here I'm checking to make sure where the corner of the mouth is going to go, compare it to the outer range of the eye. And I'm just kind of slowly drawing in the features here. One of the reasons why I picked this particular model is her mouth is slightly open. And this is the first, if you look back on my videos, this is the first person that has a mouth that is showing some teeth. Usually those are harder to draw, so I did pick this on purpose to kind of challenge myself a little bit. One of the keys to drawing teeth is basically, at least for me, I try and draw the darkness around the teeth. I don't draw the teeth per se, I'm looking at the darkness in the mouth, and by drawing the darkness, the teeth just kind of magically show up. So I'm just working on the jawline here, the cheekbone area. You'll notice I jump kind of all over the place. That's just how my brain works. Here I'm trying to think about the shadow of the hair that it leaves. But at this stage, I'm not really working on the hair, so I just kind of leave it. Jumping back and forth. Checking the distance of the chin to the bottom lip. And you'll see I do that a lot. I'll take a measurement of something like the chin to the bottom lip, and then I'll compare that to, say, the width of the nose or the width of an eye. Once you lock in a feature, like if you lock in an eye, use that to your advantage. Since you know that eye is how you want it, you can use it to measure other things. How wide is the nose? Oh, the nose is about one eye width. How wide is the nose to the edge of the face? Oh, that's probably, looks like it's about a eye width and a half. You know, you can use these features that you've already drawn to measure distances for other parts of the face. So at this stage of the drawing, I haven't done any blending yet. I'm still thinking about where the shadows are going to be. So I'm kind of going over here, the shadows again. I'm kind of thinking of the Reilly rhythm here, where the muzzle of the mouth is, and I'm shading around it. I'm not blending yet, I'm just shading around where the cheek is going to be. I'm kind of focusing on the shadows up here by the temple and the forehead. Down here, I know it's a little bit darker by the neck. So at this stage, I'm just slowly laying down layers of tone and layers of value. So that way, when I start blending, I'm not gonna lose it. And just like the face, how you look for shadows, you got to do the same with hair. So you'll notice I put some of the dark tones there in the hair. I'm really trying to pay attention to, think of the hair as a form. Up in here, there's this dark area right up here. I'm trying to map where that the hair comes down. And look, just like that, I jump back to the nose. And that's what happens sometimes when you draw the way I do. You start getting carried away, and you'll see one thing and then go, oh, let me jump back over to this other area. So I think I had the forehead too big, so that's why I'm kind of bringing the hair down a little bit. And I'm kind of just grouping that dark part there of the hair. You notice on the picture there's a dark spot up there. And now I'm redoing the shadow shape on the forehead. Just kind of lowered everything down a bit. Now this is my blending tool. I made it out of some old junk mail and just rolled it up into like a little pencil. And I use that to smear in the charcoal to blend it all in. And you'll notice it makes it really dark, but it also makes it smoother. It takes away that sketchy look and starts giving it a more of a realistic skin tone. So what I'm doing is I'm just walking through the drawing where I've already laid down my shadows, and I'm blending it into the paper. And see, you'll notice it is making it darker, but that's fine because we end up using the eraser and things of that nature to adjust everything. See, it's laying down a nice, sort of a nice tone. It's not smooth at this point, but it's slowly applying that tone to the rest of the face. This is one of my favorite parts when it comes to drawing, is this stage right here, where you're taking the sketch, basically the sketchy version of what you drew, and now we're slowly starting to render it and make it more realistic. So I'm going to do the same here with the hair. I've just kind of blend it all in. And usually after this stage, this is where we get in close, and now we start working on the details. You could see we've kind of blended in. It's not smooth, but we've blended in a lot of the shadowing, and now we're going to use our pencil and start to add the finer details. Little things like the eyelid, little things like the pupil. We're going to start to bring out the highlights here with the eraser. And this is where you're going to see the eyes start to come alive. So typically what I do is I'll lay down some charcoal and then I'll blend it in. Lay down some charcoal, blend it in. If you don't blend it, to me, it looks a little more sketchy, a little more not as smooth. So I'm trying to use a little eraser here to bring out the highlight in the eyes. And then I'm blending right up to form that bottom eyelid. It doesn't take much either to make an eye look really good. I'm just adding the little eyelashes on the bottom, making sure that top is dark, where the top eyelash is. And then right here in the corner, we always have a little highlight. See, I'm taking the eraser, kind of just pulling back some of that darkness. Lightening this area. Doesn't need to be that dark. Not as dark as I had it. So I just slowly use the kneaded eraser to kind of take away some of the value. And it smooths it out. Up in here, just reshaping the eyebrow a little bit. This is where you really start feeling like a sculptor. It's kind of neat. You know, you're using pencils and drawing, but you actually feel like you're sculpting. So here we are, just blending in a little bit more around the eye, giving it some depth to it. And usually every time I erase, you'll see I take that little blending stump and just kind of blend it. And now we're going to do this eye. We're going to get that eyelid in. And adding the eyelashes. There's always that dark area right there. And she's got really light colored eyes, so I'm just kind of highlighting the edges of the pupil and the iris, I should say. And then I'm coloring just the top a little bit, not the whole thing, because I want her eyes to still be reflective. Here I am doing that bottom eyelid again, blending it in, and then trying to make sure I keep the highlight in there. And then use an eraser here to kind of pull out the highlight. I think I have a little pulled out, maybe a little too much, but we'll fix that. So I'm doing the bottom lashes right here. And look at that, look how the eye just came to life. Just little tiny details. And now it looks like it's looking right back at you. So I'm trying to be mindful of that, the way that eyebrow curves around the form. I had a little too angly, so I'm kind of smoothing it out a little bit. And making sure that below the eyebrow it's catching that highlight where the brow is really front facing and hitting the light. And same with the nose. I'm trying to be mindful of the nostrils, how the nostrils kind of are catching some light. I'm kind of darkening that here so I can then use the eraser and pull out the highlight on the tip of the nose. Right? First I'm going to get the wing of the nose, the nostril area. But right in here I'm trying to see, just add a little reflective light on the tip. It's not much, but it reads well, and it ends up reading like the nose is coming forward and catching that light. One of the things to keep in mind when doing the nose, depending on the angle, is remembering where the bottom plane of the nose is. You know, the nose doesn't just have a top. You know, that's got the sides, and it's got, in this angle, you could see the bottom plane of her nose. So I'm trying to keep that in mind when I'm erasing here, that we are seeing the underside of the nose as well. So I'll erase a little bit, and then I'll kind of blend in a little bit and darken it back down. I'm really trying to focus on this shadow that the nose is making right here, this cast shadow. And by darkening this area, it's going to make the nose actually come forward and look more three-dimensional. Here I am knocking the nose back down a little bit by blending. I don't want it quite so bright. You always got to compare your values too. Look at the value of the nose and go, is this darker or lighter than, say, the forehead? Is this darker or lighter than the upper lip? You're always comparing things to each other. So that way it all kind of goes together and doesn't look out of place. So here I'm looking inside the mouth and I'm trying to mimic that dark shape. And by doing the dark shape, it's going to get the teeth to try and be like the picture. So I'm not drawing teeth, I'm drawing dark around them. And that is shaping the teeth. See, I kind of have to reshape this tooth right here a little bit. So I'm just erasing, and then I'm going to take my pencil and darken again. And just like that, we're shaping and getting it the way we want. And then I kind of blend because the teeth aren't white. They're inside the mouth. They're in shadow. So we want to make sure that you don't have the teeth white. That's a mistake that a lot of beginners make. Just like the eyes. The eyes are not pure white. I really like how the lips came together on this one. I've just used my blending stump to kind of make the lips, and it really turned out pretty nice. It's almost on the very first try. I don't think I really did much erasing for this mouth. I mean, here I am erasing, but I'm not erasing because I'm making a mistake. I'm erasing because I'm making the bottom lip a little bit bigger. But if you look at the mouth right now, it already looks three-dimensional. And we're just doing that just with shadows. And using that Reilly method actually helped me a lot to put the mouth in the right spot. Again, if you have any questions about the Reilly method, any questions about this drawing in particular or how I do something, please leave me a comment, let me know. And I'd be more than happy to answer it for you. I debated here about adding the lip ring, because I wasn't sure I can really pull it off. I didn't want it to look like just a smudge or something. But I decided to put it in. I'm trying to get... I put a dark little line or a dark circle, and then I try and pull out with the eraser a bright spot to highlight it. And I didn't get it exactly how I want it to be, but that's okay. I end up getting it, close enough, I think. Plus, it's something that she wears in all of her pictures I see. She really wears that lip ring. It's sort of part of her likeness and her personality, so I really wanted to try and do my best to get it in there. You'll see me use my finger a lot too to do some blending. Usually I don't always do that. It just depends. If there's already a lot of charcoal down on the face, I'll use my finger. I feel it kind of smooths it out a little bit. So let's pull back here. You can see it's coming together. What's great about charcoal is you can get some really great dark tones that you can't get as well with graphite. So I'm using my eraser here. I'm just kind of asking myself where the darks are, where the lights are. If something looks too light, I use this blending stump and kind of knock it back down like I'm doing here. Just knocking this area down. Working a little bit more on the hair. We're getting to that stage now where the face, we've already done a rendering pass over the face. We have to start bringing more of the picture together. So notice I'm working on the dark spots of the hair. I'm asking myself, think of the hair as a form and mark the dark spots. I'm not drawing every individual hair. I'm just trying to draw darks and lights. So right here by the face and by the neck, it's dark. So I'm making sure that that's in there. Right here under the chin, well, that's obviously all in shadow. So I'm going to shade all that in, and then I'm going to blend all that in. And even the shadow, if you look under the neck, you'll see it's not just one shade of shadow. It's shadow, but then there's darker areas too. And we'll get to that in a second. So I'm just adding this tone in here. Just using soft charcoal. This charcoal that I'm using right here, it erases very easy. And it blends very easy. So I use it because I know if I make a mistake, it's going to be easy to erase. It's not as dark and permanent as it looks right here. But it's great because it gives me, it's allowing me now, see how smooth it blends right here, just using a finger. It allows me to get down the dark values really easy, really quick. And then I just use my finger and kind of smooth it in there. Rubbing it into the skin. See, and notice the drawing's still pretty messy. I mean, it's not refined, it's not smooth, but we're getting there. And every time we're adding darker and darker tones and darker layers, it's making it look more three-dimensional. So even here with the hair, I'm just trying to think about the form itself. Right up in here, it's dark. In the back of the hair, it's darker than the front of the hair. So notice the back is darker than the front by her eye. On this side of the hair, notice the back, it's really dark. The front is lighter. So you got to keep that in mind. Even doing something like hair, pay as much attention to that as you do the face. It's just as important. So I'm trying to figure out where the neck comes down. I put it right here, but I'm pretty sure I end up bringing the neck in even more. That where I'm doing it, I'm making the neck not as thin as it should be. But we'll see. I'm pretty sure I correct that coming up. Now right here is the darkest spot of the drawing. So I was really trying to make sure that we keep it dark Notice again under the chin, it's not all one shadow, it's different shadows. So it's darker right here where I'm shading, but directly under the chin it's not quite as dark. But it's still all shadow. So see, you gotta use your powers of observation and try and observe, the different shades within things like shadows. So I'm just blending all that in. But notice under the neck here, it's still really bright. So I'm having to blend this in a little bit, knock this down. It's not quite as contrasty as I have it right now. So see, I'm kind of blending it more together, bringing those two shadows closer to each other, but still have them be separate. So I'm noticing I need a little more hair here. So I'm just using my soft charcoal, adding some more hair. Trying to work on this hairline here. I'm still not too sure if I got the hair right. So I'm just using the side of my pencil and adding these little streaks, and that kind of gives the hair a little more form. I just kind of use the side of my pencil and just kind of brush up and down, and you'll see it just leaves these nice vertical lines. It's actually pretty fun to do. I don't know if it's the correct way. Again, I'm not a trained artist. This is all self-taught stuff, but it seems to work. So I'm thinking up here where the strap is going to go for the shirt. And it's not super important because it's the bottom of the drawing. It's not where the focus is going to be. But because of the picture and how I have it laid out, we are going to see some of the shirt. So now I'm trying to get a measurement of the chin to the nose and compare that to how far down the shirt goes. And I realized I needed to go down lower. So see, that goes by what I was saying earlier. Take a measurement of something that you already know. I already know the chin to the nose is correct. And use that as a measurement for other things in the drawing. So I'm just darkening the hair in this area. I wasn't too sure how I was going to do the hair on the left-hand side here because there's just, strands going everywhere. Like right here, there's a strand. So I just kind of, if I see it, I just try and draw it. If my brain sees it, draw it in there, it'll add to the likeness. I see these strands over here. Just kind of throw them in there. It's not exact, but it's enough to try and capture a likeness. So I'm just blending in again here. I don't want the skin to be quite so light. So I just use my blending stump. And then I'll go back over here. I'm kind of adding the little darker things that I see in the picture. And that's one thing you do as an artist is you start noticing things as you go along. So you'll draw something down, you'll put something down on the paper, and then you'll notice, oh, there's something here I missed. And you draw that. And then you go, oh, now I see this thing that I missed. So you're constantly seeing and observing things you might have missed. And that's completely normal. I mean, that's just how it goes. So just at this stage, of the drawing, it's a lot of me trying to focus on the hair and specifically the hair shape. If I'm seeing something that looks too bright on the hair, I'll put some charcoal on it and darken it down. Here I'm using my eraser to kind of get the shape of the hair a little bit different. And then using my eraser right here, you're bringing out highlights. So I just flick with my, I have a little hard rubber eraser. I'm flicking, flick, flick, flick. And it's creating these highlights on the hair, which give it even more three-dimensional looks to it. See over here on the side, I'm just kind of flicking the eraser. I don't want to overdo it, but it's just enough to give it that value, that depth. Makes it really separates it from looking like charcoal to looking like real hair. And also what I'm doing at this stage, you don't see it because it's usually off camera, but I'll be taking notes on things. And I'll see like, okay, I need to lighten up right here. And so I'll just come back and I'll do that. You know, the forehead's a little bit bright right now. I end up going and knocking down the forehead a little bit with more shading. There's just a lot of little things that I start noticing that at this stage of the drawing you don't know until you take a break, you step back, you look at the drawing, you ask yourself, what is different? You know, the eyebrow, you can notice the eyebrow on the right-hand side looks a little pointy. It like kind of comes up to a point. It's not quite as rounded. That's something I do notice, and I end up fixing coming up here pretty soon. Oh, it's my dog in the background. In case you hear a chain, I don't have human beings chained up over here. It's just my dog. So I'm really liking the way the drawing is coming together. At this stage, when I look at a drawing like this, at this stage, I feel good. Sometimes you look at a drawing and you have a lot of doubts and second guessing going on, and those are the drawings that kind of keep you up at night, make you question yourself as an artist. This drawing, I didn't have any of that. I felt pretty good the whole way doing the whole thing, and I felt like I was doing good with the likeness. So here I am blending right here. I'm creating these shadows so it looks like the hair is kind of like on top of the skin. That's always a fun technique. Just using your blending stump and creating shadows. Trying to erase where I drew the shirt in the wrong area before, so I kind of erase it and then blend the skin back together. Trying to smooth things out as much as I can at this stage. Notice the face still looks a little blotchy, so we're going to work on that. But you don't necessarily notice all this stuff right now. You got to take breaks, step back, and then you start looking at it. See, now I'm starting to look at, okay, this is a little bright. Let me just knock it down with my blending stump, smooth it out. I didn't notice it before, but as I look at it, and then I start noticing, okay, this needs to be a little bit smoother. And of course, as with all of these drawings, see here I am fixing that. Remember I was saying how pointy that eyebrow was. I'm kind of rounding it out now. I didn't notice it until I started looking at it. So again, a lot of times you don't notice things. That's why it's important to take breaks when you draw. I don't draw longer than 1 hour at a time. Usually I'll draw for 1 hour and then I'll take a break. And then I'll come back to the drawing and I'll look at it again. And I'll see things I didn't see before. You know, here I am trying to just look on the eyebrows a little bit. Look at the shape. Go back to the hair. And see, that's one of the things that makes hair look so real, is all the different layers. I don't just draw hair and I'm done. I start up with a layer and then I add a little bit of darkness. And then I might blend it in and then I might add some more darkness. And then I might use an eraser and kind of take out highlights. And then I might blend that in and knock those back. And then I highlight again. It's just all these different layers. And it might seem intimidating at first if you're just learning how to do this, but when you really start drawing, you get in this like mental zone. You don't even think about it after a while. It's really relaxing. So right up in there, I'm kind of thinking about this hair. I'm kind of using the eraser right here to create these little lines, make it look like hair and shadow. That's a little mono eraser, a little like a pencil eraser. So I can just use it right here to create these little highlights on the hair. It's really a great little tool. If you look in the description of this video, at the very bottom of the description, I have a link to Amazon where all these items are. That's where I bought all this stuff. It's really cheap, but they're really helpful in case you want to use the same tools that I'm using. So at this stage of the drawing, where I'm at mentally, I already know that things are almost done. I know things are almost finished. And so I'm starting to think of the darkest darks, the lightest lights, and accenting those. So I know the eyes are dark, so I'm making sure those stay, good. The shadow under the nose, the darkness in the mouth around the teeth. I'm just going over everything sort of like a final pass. There's that lip ring again. Trying to get the highlight on it. It's really tough to get, but in fact I'm not even sure how well it shows up here on the video, but in person it looks a little better. I'm using right here a white charcoal pencil, something I don't normally do, but I thought, I wonder if I can use that to get the little highlight. Didn't really work too well, but I figure, it's good enough. And I'm just kind of blending in the shadow underneath the lip. Using my eraser, kind of. Sometimes I'll see little smudges. I'm trying to reshape the upper lip a little bit here. And then I'm knocking down the teeth a little bit so they're not quite as white. It's just ever so slightly. I don't know if I'm totally forgetting if I just said this like 2 minutes ago. I don't think I did. But as with all of my drawings, this is going to be, I'm going to have a quicker time-lapse version of this. So where this video here is probably a little over an hour, I'm going to have the same exact video come out that's only going to be 3 minutes long. So it'll be this entire drawing in 3 minutes without any commentary. Those are always fun to watch too. This video that you're watching here is more of my tutorial, me sharing my thoughts, giving you my, thoughts on what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, try to illustrate how I'm doing something. Here I am trying to redefine that jaw so we don't lose it. And again, if you like this format, this narration over the drawing, which is slightly faster than real time, let me know. Or do you prefer that I stick with a 3-hour video that I'm talking while I'm drawing? Let me know which one you like better. Again, this one, I have a little more freedom doing it this way because I can just concentrate on the drawing and not on talking. I can do the talking now afterward while we're narrating. So I have a little more freedom that way. But I do understand maybe some people want to hear the sound of the pencil on the paper, and they want to hear, my thoughts at the time. And so, yeah, I just want to know what you think. So one of the things I've done, like I said, off camera is I'll take breaks, I'll pause the camera, and then I'll stare at the drawing, and I'll take notes. And my notes will say something like, smooth out the nose. Make sure you check the width of the hair on the left side of the face. Double check the width of the eyebrows. And so that's what I did. So right here I'm coming back and I'm realizing, oh, this eyebrow needs to come closer to the middle of the face a little bit. So I start doing that. I start bringing the eyebrow in a little closer. This one I start bringing in just a little bit closer. See, I'm checking the width to an eye. And I realized it just needed to be over just a little bit, just a little tiny hair. But it's things like that. Here, one of my notes was knock down this value of the forehead. So I'm just blending this in a little bit so it's not quite as bright. These are all the final touches that I do with every one of my drawings. I just make this list of notes and then I go through. This one part of my note said check the hair above the left eye. And so I'm working on that. I'm making sure that that comes over the eye a little bit more. Right here I had a note that said to check the angle of the forehead right here on the right hand side. So I just took my eraser to erase it, and now I'm using my pencil to kind of redefine just a little slight change like that. But it changed the angle of the hair. So just little things like that, just changing little tiny things like the angle of a forehead can really make a big difference in your picture. Sometimes you're looking at something and you go, I don't know what's different. Something doesn't look right, and you start thinking about big things when it could be something so small, like right here, just a shadow under the eye. Let me just mark this shadow under the eye, and it's a little tiny thing, but it really adds to the big picture that your brain just reads and translates without you consciously thinking about it. Right here, it's a little bit darker on this side than the other side. So I'm going to lighten the other side a little bit. Just a little bit. Just erase and blend it in. But I'm making sure that it's lighter than the other side of the eye. Now I'm checking the angle right here leading up to the eyebrow, just making sure that that little angle is the same. Because again, it's just little tiny differences that sort of add up. And again, at this stage of the drawing, it's final touches. I'm looking at the darkest darks and re-establishing that. So I'm just making sure inside the mouth is dark. Making sure the darks up here are blended in nicely. Right here by the eye, this needs to be, it's a little too bright, so I'm kind of knocking it down a little bit. Blending tools are great because not only do they blend, but you can use them to add value to things. So if you want something to be a little darker, but you don't want to take a pencil and make it dark, you can use your blending stump and just blend the darkness onto the paper without using your pencil. So here I'm just checking the width of the hair, and I notice that it needs to come out more. Now watch just how this little bit makes the drawing look even better. And all I did is I measured an eyeball's width. I said, oh, the hair needs to come out more because it comes out about the same width as an eye. This part comes out about an eye and a half. So I just measure things with my pencil on the face, and I use that as a measurement to determine other parts of the drawing. So here I realized the hair needed to come out more than I had it. Now look, we were an hour into this video and I didn't even notice it, but it's only now at this stage, this final stage of the drawing, that you start noticing these little tiny differences. So I noticed the hair needs to come out. Now I'm using my eraser and I'm bringing out these highlights. But notice this part of the hair in the back is really dark. So I'm keeping this part dark, really establishing the dark tones. I notice the shadow under the neck, it needs to be just a little bit darker. So I'm just using my pencil, adding some more dark tones, and then I'm going to blend it in. Here I happen to be blending it with my finger, but I also will use a blending stump to kind of get it in there. And I noticed the neck also needed to come in. I had the neck a little too wide, so I'm just darkening the area next to it, which is going to bring the neck in closer and thinner. Closer to how it is on the model. And I'll just use my eraser to kind of lighten the shadow just a little bit right in there. And then I blend it in. That kind of lightens it, the blending stump also. But see, that looks so much better. And it still looks a little blotchy under the neck, if you notice, under the chin. The shadow in there, so I need to blend all this together. I'm just blending the chest here. And then under the chin I'm going to have to do up here eventually. See how tiny these changes are? At this stage of the drawing, it's so tiny. It's just so... That's why I always time-lapse this part of the drawing. Even on my normal real-time drawings, I just time-lapse this part because there's so many tiny changes, and I jump all over the place that I almost don't even know how to describe what I'm doing. I'm just... here I am working on the shadow of the hair right here. Just little tiny details. It's just fine changes. Adding a shadow right here to give the impression that the hair is coming above the forehead. And again, I'm just going through notes at this stage. I've taken notes of the drawing. I've realized things that need to be changed. Like here's where I'm noticing on my notes. Blend in underneath the chin. Don't make it look so blotchy. So I'm doing that. I'm just going through my notes on my drawing. I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, but I'll take a picture of it on my phone and look at the picture on my phone. When you look at it smaller, you see all these little changes and all these details that you missed. And that's what I did here. Off camera, I took a picture of it on my phone, and then I was looking at it, noticing things on the phone, on the picture, that I can't see on the drawing itself. And then that makes me realize, oh, I need to change this. I need to darken that. I need to blend this. One of my favorite spots or things of the drawing is doing the shadow underneath the chin, because it makes the face look three-dimensional. It makes the face look like it's really casting that shadow. So here I'm working a little bit on the nose. I noticed that underneath the nose, I had it a little too dark. And again, I probably could have ended the drawing and it would have been fine and we probably would have never noticed. But again, at this stage, I'm looking at the little details. So I'm noticing underneath the nose, the root of the nose, it came down a little bit further than I had it. If you look closely at the picture, right in the middle, you could see it kind of go down. It kind of droops down. So I'm trying to get that here by erasing a little bit of the shadow and then blending some of it back in. And then I'm using my pencil to add some of the shadow back and define that shape. It's just little tiny changes. I don't even know how to describe or to narrate this part, because this part just comes with experience. But it's just, you'll see something, you'll know the way you want it to be, and with practice you start learning what it takes to make that happen. If you want the nose to look a certain way, with practice you learn, oh, I know if I erase this part, it's going to change the shape to look like that. And so you start doing those little tiny changes. And I'm almost done here. We really only have probably 2 minutes left of this drawing. So as you see me wrapping it up here and doing these final changes, again, I really want to say thank you. I appreciate you. If you've watched this far into this drawing, I really appreciate it. I think you're awesome for doing that. And if you like this kind of video, if it helps you out, hit that thumbs up button and let me know. It really motivates me to keep on making more videos like this, so I feel like they're actually being useful and I'm not just wasting my time or your time. And if you like this kind of narration over the drawing, let me know. Or do you prefer that I go back to the old way of talking and drawing at the same time and having a 3-hour video? I don't know what's better. I know I draw better doing it this way. But I also want to be mindful of my subscribers, of what you guys want and what you find most helpful. So let me know if this is fine for you. Maybe I'll do my next drawing like this. Just kind of narrate over it. But yeah, let me know. That's probably my biggest question right now. So I'm just blending in the darker areas of the cheeks. I know those are going to be further away from us, and so they're going to be a little bit darker. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm looking at the drawing and I'm squinting my eyes and I don't see too much more that I could possibly do. Maybe right here on the lip, darken this a little bit. But again, it's nothing major. I mean, at this point, we're basically nitpicking details. We're just making little tiny changes until we feel like it's done. And at this stage, it's pretty done. I'm just going to erase right here all my little smudge marks that end up leaving on the paper. And then I'm going to show you one little technique that I do right here that I didn't do on a lot of my older drawings, but it really makes a huge difference when it comes to hair. So after it's really with when you have dark hair like this, it really works out. But after it's everything's erased around it, take a really sharp pencil and just flick little strands of hair like this. Just flick, 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 flick. Just little bits of hair just like this. You don't even understand how much of a huge difference that makes. I never understood it until I started to do it and see other artists that they were doing it, and now I realize why. It's just little tiny things, little tiny individual strands of hair that just kind of flick off, like right in here, just flick. Those make all the difference. You don't consciously realize it, because when you look at a picture, your brain just takes it all in and you just don't see a lot of the little details. But your brain knows it's there, and it really does a lot. So that's it. I mean, that's the drawing. I'm done here. And if you watch this whole thing, I really, really appreciate it. If you gave me a thumbs up, I really appreciate it even more. And if you subscribe, gosh, I love the crap out of you if you subscribe. So thanks again. Hope you check out these other drawings that you see of my my videos. And I'll be back next week with another one. Talk to you then.